My boss fired me via email while I was on vacation, so I used my company card one last time to book every billboard outside our office with his worst performing sales stats. The margarita had just arrived, its rim perfectly salted, and the Hawaiian sun was warming my face. I was on the first real vacation I'd taken in 3 years, a trip I'd earned by single-handedly landing the biggest account in our company's history. My phone buzzed on the table. It was an email from my boss, Greg. The subject line was just an update. I opened it, expecting praise. Instead, I was met with a wall of cold corporate text. Effective immediately, your position has been terminated due to departmental restructuring. I had to read it 3 times before the words sank in. Fired, over email. While on a vacation he approved. The sheer, breathtaking disrespect of it all made me feel cold in the 90-degree heat. The shock quickly turned into a cold, hard knot of fury in my stomach. For years, I had watched Greg take credit for my team's wins and blame us for his failures. He was a master of delegation, a ghost who only appeared in victory photos. He called it leadership. I called it cowardice. As I sat there, stewing in a mix of betrayal and tropical rum, my eyes landed on my wallet. Tucked inside was my corporate American Express card. It probably wouldn't be active for long, but human resources was notoriously slow, especially on a Friday afternoon. A slow, wicked idea began to form in my mind. Greg's entire career was built on perception and appearances. I decided it was time to introduce him to reality. I spent the next 2 hours on my laptop, the half-melted margarita forgotten. I still had access to the company's internal servers. I pulled up the last 4 quarterly performance reports, the ones where my team's numbers had carried the entire department. But I wasn't looking for our successes. I was looking for Greg's failures, which were always buried on page 8. His personal client retention rate was a pathetic 18%. Project Atlas, which he personally managed, had gone over budget by almost $200,000. His own sales targets were a joke he'd missed for 3 quarters straight. The numbers didn't lie. Then I opened another tab and found an online ad agency that managed the 3 massive digital billboards on the highway right outside our office building. The ones every employee, every client, and every executive saw on their way into the parking garage. They offered a rush service for a premium, a very large premium. I didn't hesitate. I entered the company card number and clicked confirm. I flew back a day early, arriving on Monday morning just before 9. I didn't go into the office. Instead, I parked at the coffee shop across the street with a perfect view. At 8:55 a.m., Greg's shiny black BMW pulled into his reserved parking spot. He got out, adjusting his tie, looking like the king of a castle he didn't build. And then he looked up. On the first billboard, in giant 50-foot-high letters, were the words, Greg Henderson, client retention rate, 18%. He froze. His head snapped to the next billboard. Project Atlas, 47% over budget under Greg's leadership. His jaw went slack. Finally, his eyes drifted to the third and final billboard, the biggest one of all. Q3 sales goals missed by $150,000. Great for morale. He just stood there, motionless in the middle of the parking lot, as car after car of our coworkers slowed down, their faces pressed against the glass, staring up at the data he had tried so hard to bury. He looked small, he looked defeated. And for the first time in a long time, I smiled, a real smile. Then I started my car and drove away.